Hello, Meet Edgar community. I am so excited that you're joining us today for our Pinterest Basics webinar. We're really lucky to be Pinterest partners here at Meet Edgar because that means we get to bring awesome guests like Margot right to our Meet Edgar community so you can get straight from the Pinterest source how best to use Pinterest as a content creator. Charles, thank you so much for going ahead and jumping off the chat. You guys can see over on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a chat, and we would love to know who's here. Make sure you're hearing us okay. So go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know what industry you're in. And we love doing these webinars just to help you guys connect and network a little bit more as well. So if for any reason you see someone you're interested in networking with, know that chat is a great place to connect and talk to each other. We'll also be monitoring the chat for your questions, so go ahead and keep it a fun place. Steph, Alicia, hello, welcome. It's so good to have you here. Henry, all the way from Colombia, thank you for joining. So I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over so you guys can start getting into the good stuff with Pinterest. So I'll pass it over to Margot and she'll go ahead and get started on the session today.
I'm Margot. I'm the program manager for our strategic partnerships team at Pinterest, and super excited to dive into some basics on Pinterest and just get to know you all a bit better and hopefully leave you with some good, helpful tips. So I did have a few just entry polls that I'd love to just ask now, if that's possible, Megan, just to get a sense of what everyone knows about Pinterest already and just the way that you think about Pinterest. So take your time in answering. It's all anonymous, I believe, so it's just helpful for me to understand where everyone's at with their understanding. Cool, looks like we've got a bit of a mixture. Hopefully this course will be relevant to most of you all. And then we just dropped in a second question, which is whether or not you believe Pinterest fits into your brand's marketing strategy. Great, well, I will go ahead and get started. Hopefully you can still submit answers in the poll throughout this beginning session if you haven't put that in yet, but it's a great place for me to just get a pulse of where everyone's at. Cool, so as I said earlier, I'm Margot, I'm the program manager, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about creating on Pinterest and how you can find success. So here's a look at what we'll cover. Given the breadth of questions that we received beforehand and just sort of the range of familiarity with Pinterest, this presentation will be focusing mostly on the foundations of building a strong presence, but I'll also leave you with some resources if you're really interested on digging in deeper and getting really tactical with our best practices and even jumping into ads. So it's probably best to start at the beginning, which is, what is Pinterest? And to answer that, Pinterest is the visual discovery engine. So our mission is not to keep you glued to a screen, but rather quite the opposite. We want to bring you the inspiration to create a life you love. And then we want you to go out and actually live it. So we actually see that 95% of pinners state Pinterest inspires them and gives them ideas for their life. And 91% state that Pinterest helps them achieve their goals. So how do we go about doing that? Well, we've built it into our core premise of being a visual discovery engine, meaning the way we distribute content is not exclusively chronological, but rather our content is surfaced when it's relevant, and it's based on users' interest, engagement, and searches. And this leads to a highly personalized and curated experience, and also means that our content is evergreen and will continue to perform for you over time. So your content will continue to be there when pinners are searching for it and need it the most. And the power of visual discovery shouldn't be overlooked, because when we think about how people retain and store information, it's really impactful. We actually tend to retain 10% of what we hear, 20% of what we read, and 80% of what we see and do. And the context matters. On Pinterest, your content is sought after by pinners in a unique mindset. And that mindset is what we believe sets us apart from other platforms. Pinners are reported to feel especially positive and optimistic when using Pinterest. They're open-minded and they're willing to try new things. So for brands and marketers such as yourselves, this mindset is incredibly valuable because it allows you to build a trusted brand voice. So let's dive into a little bit about how Pinterest works. We are a bit different from other platforms out there, so I'll walk you through how and why this matters for creators, your content, and your audience. You may have noticed in this presentation, or you may notice that I interchange the usage of creators and brands. And that's because we see every business, every brand, every self-starter as a content creator. Without amazing content creators such as yourselves, we wouldn't have Pinterest. So you really are the core of our platform and the reason so many pinners are looking for inspiration. But so I don't create some confusion, I'll try to refer to you all as brands from here on out. To get started, just want to walk you through our various surfaces where your pins can get discovered. First is our home feed. A pinner's home feed is a curation just for them. So this is based on what they've saved, searched for, engaged with, and more. It's also where they'll discover content from creators that they follow. And because pinners come with intent, they often use our search as well for ideas and inspiration. So this is another valuable placement for your pins and presents the perfect opportunity for brands to be discovered by a potentially new audience. The next is related pins, and this is a really cool surface that brings another opportunity for discovery. So if a pinner is engaging with the pin, they can scroll down to see similar ideas and visuals, and essentially it's more riffs on that idea. The Today tab is one of our newer surfaces, and this is a daily curation of relevant and trending content featuring spotlights from inspirational creators. And this is the first thing users see when they tap over from their personalized home feeds. And great content keeps on giving. So remember that the more people engage with your content, the more it appears across Pinterest. And while followers on other platforms can be the ceiling of your content distribution, on Pinterest, we see it as the floor, where your content will likely see many more impressions over its lifespan. So there are a few primary formats when creating for Pinterest that I'll walk through next. And the first is our standard pins. And this is really the bread and butter of Pinterest. You're probably very, very familiar with it. They are great for single images and can link out to websites or domains. And we highly recommend keeping a 2 to 3 aspect ratio. So this longer sort of vertical format as you see on the slide. And this really ensures that your content can take up the best amount of space within our feeds. Video pins are another awesome way to capture your audience's attention. They stand out in feed and they're really great for driving awareness for your brand. So as you can see, if you were scrolling, as it were on this slide, the video content is really great for catching that attention. And it's also good for building a native audience on Pinterest. And you may have noticed recently, if you keep up with Pinterest, that we've just announced a newer format called story pins. So we're really excited to bring story pins to creators, which enables them to publish right on Pinterest. So this includes capabilities of adding text overlay, music, step-by-step instructionals, and so much more. They are multi-page formats, so you can feature videos and images. And we really see them as being perfect for all types of content, whether it's food, fashion, DIY, travel, tips and tricks, you name it. Story pins right now are currently in beta, but keep your eye out as this format develops. You are able to request access through our website. If you go to business.pinterest.com, you should be able to find it. And again, keep your eyes out because it'll be a great way for brands to build a native audience on Pinterest. So now I'd like to transition into some myth busting. There are probably a lot of assumptions you have when thinking about Pinterest. And don't worry, I did too when I first joined. but I quickly learned that Pinterest has really grown over the years. So it's usually best to just address these myths up front and at the beginning. So myth number 1, pinners come to get inspiration and don't take action. At Pinterest, we do see ourselves as the world's inspiration company. So 50% of this statement is true. Pinners do come to Pinterest to get inspired, but they are also taking action. Pinners are people who buy. So 89% of weekly pinners use Pinterest for inspiration in their paths to purchase. In fact, we've also seen that 83% of pinners have actually made a purchase based on content they saw from brands on Pinterest. Now, on other platforms, it's all about what you've done or what you're doing currently, whereas on Pinterest, we're likely thinking about a future state. And this is one of those fundamental differences core to our mission, and it presents a significant opportunity for brands because you're also core to planning, and you're able to speak to our audience before they've made up their minds on what they need to do or what they want to purchase. They're really still seeking and they're undecided. The second myth is that Pinterest is just a social network. So Pinterest can definitely touch on both search and social. It's definitely a bit of a confusing definition, but our focus really lies between personal and discovery. So we're here to inspire you to be more productive and browse possibilities rather than search for specific information or even seek social validation. To put it another way, Pinterest is personal media, not social media. And that's because it's about your personal interests. You're focused on yourself and not your selfie. You're not fishing for likes or scrolling endlessly through someone else's vacation photos. You're trying to figure out how to make your life a little bit better. We really strive to maintain a positive corner on the internet. So these are all really important things to think about when creating on Pinterest, which is that valuable mindset. Myth number 3, my audience is not on Pinterest. Now, I'm sure when you think of Pinterest, you immediately think of a platform for women planning their wedding, arts and crafts, DIYs. And while we are still strong in those areas, we actually touch on a multitude of different verticals, and we aren't just for women. So some of our US audiences includes an 80% reach of moms, 1 in 2 millennials, 76% of millennial women, and 40% of millennial men. But it also includes things like reaching 1 in 3 of our US dads and millions of pinners seeking content related to travel or health or diet and nutrition. So you name it, and there's likely a pinner out there looking for your content. And looking more high level, we now reach actually over 416 million monthly users worldwide. So we've been quickly growing every month, and that equates to about 240 billion pins saved and over 5 billion boards created. So again, your audience is most likely here, and they're open to hearing your branded message. And they're not just coming to Pinterest for big life moments, they're also coming for those daily decisions and seasonal celebrations. So Pinterest is really a year-round utility. There are actually dozens of moments throughout the day. So think about, what am I gonna paint my nails? Can I create a cute new face mask? Or even what am I gonna have for dinner? These are all ways that people are engaging on Pinterest. And that journey to bringing a moment to life isn't linear. There are so many opportunities to influence those decisions. After that first flash of inspiration from a pin comes the planning, which involves creating some boards, maybe adding some collaborators, saving some pins to those boards, and then ultimately deciding on what to do and what you want to buy. And inspiration can strike at any time throughout the year. We do also see some patterns when it comes to planning for specific moments. So this is sort of like a heat map that we create every single year for our seasonal moments. And these are looking at those really major sort of tentpole moments. This one specifically is focused on the US, but we do have different versions internationally. And what I really like to call out is that there are about 27 different moments that happen throughout the year. And the time in which pinners are searching and planning for these moments usually start earlier and last a lot longer than you may see on other platforms. So if you look at Thanksgiving, for instance, which is that third row up from the bottom, you'll see that pinners start collecting information all the way in July. So pinners have been already looking for Thanksgiving inspiration for a while now, and that is 5 months ahead of the event. So what that means for you is that your content has a longer shelf life and a slower burn. Here's a look at some upcoming major moments. They may be familiar to you, but as you can see, Pinterest searches for ideas related to seasonal moments, the line in blue, starts earlier and lasts longer when compared to a leading search engine, which is the line in black. And if pinners are showing up earlier, brands also need to show up earlier on Pinterest. And again, that's really how you influence the decision and all those purchasing and planning made around moments. So hopefully I've convinced you that Pinterest is worth creating content for. Let's dig into how to find success. If I were to summarize content, what's successful on Pinterest, just remember that Pinterest is for brands. So your content is what pinners are looking for. And it's not just to find inspiration, but it's to inspire others. We want brands to publish native content and build for your specific audience and mindset on our platform. To be a successful brand on Pinterest, you should aim to create quality content regularly and engage with your audience when you can. There are 3 primary things to consider to find success. 1 is to create fresh content regularly. 2 is to optimize for discovery when developing that content. And 3 is to engage with your audience and again, publish native content to drive awareness. So we really want to bring pinners new ideas daily. You may be wondering what we mean by new ideas. And what we mean is that we want you to focus on sharing new recipes, life hacks, or workout routines, as opposed to focus on repinning existing content. And this is because pinners are planning for relevant moments and trends. They really engage with those types of content. So take this opportunity to inspire them to try something new. For example, Halloween this year is certainly going to look a lot different than last year. So really think about how you can inject some fun and re-energize your ideas and present something timely and relevant to your audience. And with our new Created tab, which you may have noticed on Pinterest profiles, the variety in your content can and will start to be fully appreciated by pinners as well. Another helpful tip for designing on Pinterest is to add text overlay to your pins. Text will ensure that your content is easily discoverable and that pinners know what they're getting. For standard pins and video pins, titles and descriptions are also key to helping surface your content across Pinterest. So ensure that your content is concise, it's relevant, and we recommend pin descriptions that are about 1 to 2 sentences. Write these as you would for any human. Don't load them with too many keywords. We really want pinners to find helpful information out of your pins and descriptions. And also a tasteful logo on your pins can help build your brand presence and establish yourself on our platform. So usually we see really successful pins feature a logo in the bottom or top corners of their content. And don't forget about your boards. So boards help you organize your content and it gives it a broader context and purpose. Board names, descriptions, categories, all of those elements impact how your content shows up on Pinterest search results. Again, use clear descriptive language in your board titles and descriptions. And then you can also add collaborators to turn any board into a group board. We recommend using that feature for inspiration, planning, and partnerships. Now going into a bit of brand basics and account setup. So the first step for building on Pinterest is to actually create a business account. You can either convert your personal account to a business account, or you can create a sort of linked business account. But this will help unlock special features such as advanced analytics, as well as a few other profile features. The second is to update your information. So when you create that business account, make sure that the business name is correct, your business type is accurate, and then also drop in your website if you have one. Your website is going to be displayed on your profile, and that'll make sure that we are driving traffic directly to your site for any of the content that you're publishing. And we've redesigned our profiles, so you may want to take a look and poke around a bit, but we want profiles to be even more informative for pinners and feature the content you're creating versus what you're curating. And you can customize your profile with descriptions, photos, and boards that really represent your brand. There's also a follow button, so pinners will be able to stay engaged with your ideas as they're posted. The next tip is to claim your accounts. So this includes things like your Instagram account, YouTube, maybe Etsy pages, anything like that. You can edit these settings in your profile settings. And it's important to claim these because this helps build your brand presence. Your profile picture will actually appear next to any pins that links out to these claimed accounts. And that's so that you can get the distinction you deserve when your content is added to Pinterest. And if you find it difficult to create pins or need a bit of help with just some layouts, we also have a few creative tool partners we work with that give you some best practice layouts that can be a great start. And then just our last section here is how to actually measure success. So we're excited to launch some real-time reactions, which you may have noticed, and this is available on video pins as well as the story pins. And you can use these feedbacks to know what your audience is loving, where you can optimize, and just get some real-time engagement from them. Comments and tries are also really helpful and great to monitor. This is where pinners may give feedback, they may ask questions, or they may upload a photo of how they've actually tried to create your idea. Pin stats are also great. So this is stats for specific pins, and they're only visible to you as long as you have a business account. This delivers insights that will help you create more high-performing pins. So it includes information such as impressions, link clicks, follows, profile visits, so you can see what's really driving the most engagement with pinners. And then we also have Pinterest Analytics. So this is helpful because you can see which pins people like, as well as what they save from your other channels. So you can actually view not only pins that you publish, but also pins that other people are publishing that links to any of your claimed accounts. And this can be really insightful for you to learn what people resonate with, what they're engaging with, what they want to see more of. It really helps you learn what your audience wants. And then one of our last favorite tools is Audience Insights. So you can access this through a Business Manager under the Analytics tab, but this tells you what else your pinners are engaging with on our platform. So it's a snapshot of your audience over the last 30 days, and it varies from brand to brand. You can look at your Audience Insights to see what interests your audience has and use it to build out new pins. So for example, if you're a travel blogger, you look at your Audience Insights and notice that people are also interested in health and nutrition, then maybe you create content on how to maintain a healthy diet while traveling abroad. And those are just, some ways to iterate on the learnings that you find through this tool. And lastly, the Spotlight is our trends tool, and I really, really love this and encourage you all to check it out. You can get to this page by going to trends.pinterest.com. And you can also now access it directly through your business manager on Pinterest. But essentially, it's a self-service tool for any creator or business to plan. And it really helps you make a Pinterest first strategy by exploring the top trending terms on Pinterest and understanding the seasonality behind them. So we will highlight what we see trending on our platform, and then you'll also see these really helpful graphs for you to understand when it's peaking and then when it sort of downtrends. So you can bet that we are seeing searches peak for all things fall and autumn related right now. But have you also thought about trying to tie that in with some new phone aesthetic tips? Because that is also super hot and trending on Pinterest right now. So these are all insights that you can find through the tool. It's all in real time and it's directly at your fingertips whenever you want to access it. And then the great thing as well is that with the tool, you can actually see examples of the pins that are linked to these types of categories. So you can see the exact type of content that pinners want to see. And then I just like to sort of call out some of the key metrics that we really like to focus on with Pinterest. And the first and foremost is monthly viewers. So these are the viewers attached to your profile. And again, this is really interesting because it's based on your content. And it's a bit different than just looking at your follower count, which are people who are only opting into your content. Monthly viewers includes all of your distribution. And then impressions are important, close-ups, link clicks, people who are saving your pins, how many times they're saving your pins, and then also saved to these boards is another metric which shows you the most recent boards that your pin has been saved to. And this is only available for people who have created public boards that they're saving pins to. Again, these are all super helpful to just have you have a better understanding of what pinners are engaging with, what's successful, what types of themes are really popping up. And so hopefully can help inform the type of new content that you're creating. So that was the most of the content that I had today. Again, I kept it a bit more foundational just because I think we have a breadth of brands and creators with us. But I did want to also leave you with some takeaways and resources. So our top takeaways is that, remember, there are over 416 million people on Pinterest, and they're looking for content. Your audience is here, and they want to hear from you. Your content is what they're here for. You can use Pinterest to engage with new audiences and build a new following. And you do that by creating fresh ideas on Pinterest. Use our tools, use Team Edgar to post regularly and consistently, and make it easier for everyone to really understand who you are and what your brand has to offer. And then lastly, I'll leave you with additional resources. So if you are a bit more expert, which I see that a few of you are, I recognize this may be a bit too foundational for you. So if you're looking for more information, I definitely recommend starting at our business site. That's just business.pinterest.com. And it has more details on best practices for creative, how to get started with targeting if you want to move into ads, some case studies as well, which can be helpful for you to sort of understand how other brands are using Pinterest to find success. And then what's really good tactical tool is the Pinterest Academy. And you can find this from the business site, but this is module-based learning. It's totally free to enroll in. You can sign up and start or stop whenever you want. But there are short, really easy sessions that you can work through that help you actually understand what our creative best practices are to more detail, or how you set up your campaign based on what your goals are, things like that. And we're constantly adding sessions to our academy as well. So I definitely recommend just signing up, and then you can sort of monitor the content and see what's useful for you, and take the classes as you see fit. And then we also have a creators community. So this is, you can find it at community.pinterest.biz. And this helps you connect with other creators, whether that's for networking or just sharing tips and tricks. It's an open forum. So anyone is able to comment and post. You just need a Pinterest profile and account. And it's a really great place for you to ask questions that you may not find immediate answers for in our help center. And we have a really engaged community. So you will likely see other people responding or sharing their insights in terms of how they found success on Pinterest. And then we also do have community managers. So they look at topics that are really uptrending, and they will sometimes post articles themselves just to really provide that voice of Pinterest. And then lastly, what I find to be really helpful is to actually sign up for our business emails. So you can configure your settings in your profile settings under your email notifications. And I know that we may send a lot of emails, but you can actually control it based on the type of content that you want to get delivered to your inbox. So I definitely recommend the business emails because these include insights and holiday trends, white papers that we write. So we recently released one on why being happy and positive actually matters and how that can actually impact the way that pinners engage with your content, how frequently they convert, and then how to leverage that within the content you're creating. So you can get some of these real-time learnings directly to your inbox, and it makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to monitor our newsroom channel, but you can just see it through your email. And that is all that I had today. So hopefully that answered the most of your questions, and it gives you a really solid foundation to start building on Pinterest. Again, if you're really interested in learning more, I definitely recommend Pinterest Academy. And then, if there is a lot of interest for more of a deep dive on our creative best practices, I can definitely work with Meet Edgar to potentially host another webinar just focused on some of that sort of tips and tricks.
Margot, can you just share one more time how people actually get to the story pins to request access for that?
Sure. Let me actually see if I can just present that tab. Ooh, haven't actually gone to there before enough times. There we go. Hopefully this kicks up, but essentially the URL is pinterest.com/story-pins.invite. So let me try and type that into the chat. And then I can also share it in a follow-up email.
Hey guys, so I know a few questions were in here that might not have been answered. I will be sure to get those answers and put them in the replay email that'll come to you this evening with the replay of the webinar as well. And we'll be sure to include this link to where you can request access to the story pins too.
Perfect. Yeah, it looks like my internet is being a bit laggy today, of course. So I'll make sure that you have the right information.
Awesome. Well, guys, as well in that replay email that's going to come to you, Meet Edgar is doing a Pinterest batching party. So if you'd like to use Meet Edgar software in order to really make sure you're systemizing your pins and making sure you have them all scheduled out for the rest of the year, go ahead and register for that. The link will come in your replay email there so we can go over the features of how to use Meet Edgar in Pinterest. Like I said, we'll go ahead and make sure we get some of these questions answered for you in the replay email as well. And thank you so much for joining. And Margot, thank you so much for sharing your expertise today.
So much for the time, everyone. Hopefully you can start pinning.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming today, guys. And if you have any questions in the meantime, please always feel free to email support@meetedgar.com. Have a great day, everyone.